Even if it were true, all those claims about white privilege, so what?
What do you mean, so what? Prager University. If you saw my last video, you've already heard this spiel, but for those unfamiliar, Prager University is a
not an accredited university
media organization that poses itself as an alternative to mainstream universities and just so happens to be funded by fracking billionaires, election interference organizations, and an advocacy group that's working to recriminalize homosexuality in the US, among other things. Which is why their so-called unbiased educational content features lessons like this.
By the use of cheap, plentiful, and reliable energy from fossil fuels, we have made our environment cleaner.
And this.
When Thomas Jefferson wrote the words, "All men are created equal," the slavery question was resolved.
And recently, PragerU content was approved for use in Florida public schools. So we need to talk about it.
All I heard was, well, because you indoctrinate kids, which is true. I said, but what is the bad of our indoctrination?
Today's course is on white privilege, and let me be clear, we are talking about a problem and not a solution. We're not talking about reparations. We're not talking about affirmative action. We are acknowledging that there are systemic disparities between black and white people in the US. White privilege does not mean that every white person in the US is living a lavish life unbothered by the ills of society. Literally no one is saying that. It's also not something that white people are expected to feel guilty about. Like, we don't choose our race. And there are lots of different types of privilege. There's height privilege, pretty privilege, good immune system privilege. It's kind of obvious when you think about it, like we're all born with some traits that might serve to our advantage in our lives. But let's not kid ourselves, right? Being born white in the US comes with certain benefits, and often those benefits are things you don't have to think about. For instance, in high school, my friends and I liked to hang out at Target. Just like push each other around in the carts and wander the aisles and often leave without buying anything. And that's not something that everyone is able to do. You'll hear more about that later in this video. Marijuana use is statistically roughly equal between black and white people, but black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested for it. Not to mention, an estimated 35 to 45% of wealth is inherited, which means that if you're a black person who descended from slaves, you've lost hundreds of years of opportunity for wealth accumulation. Between that, being excluded from the GI Bill, and legal redlining, black people have faced a lot of wealth setbacks in this country at the direction of the government. And the impact shows today. The average net worth of a white household is 10 times that of a black household. So unless you want to argue that there's an inherent quality to black people that makes them genetically predisposed to earn less, which is just racism, you have to acknowledge that there's a systemic problem here. But that's the goal of these PragerU videos. You deny that there's a problem to begin with, and you don't even have to bother with the argument on solutions. Last week it was climate change, this week it's white privilege. Stay tuned to find out what's next. And with that...
Woke white people. I'd like to ask
is this
you
the
a favor.
Tatum?
Please stop asking for forgiveness for your white privilege. You're not fooling anybody. You're not helping black people or any other minority. And your public
The art budget was low for this one.
They make you look disingenuous, which is a really nice way of saying fake, phony, and fraudulent. For starters, what is white privilege anyway? Because you're born with white skin, you have all these advantages that I don't have? Like what? Like you can get a mortgage loan that I can't get?
This is the perfect video.
I got a loan, at a great rate, by the way, and I got the house. Why would a banker not give a loan to someone who met the loan requirements?
That's a great question.
Yeah, why would they?
Why would they do that?
He doesn't want to make money? I've never heard of such a banker.
Taking race out of it, they do this for everyone. It's all like, they look at you.
It was legal to do it based on race until like a few decades ago.
Or how about this? You can enter a store and not be looked upon with suspicion, but I, a black person, cannot?
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, we know this all too well. It's happened to us.
That has never happened to me.
That has never happened to me. It's always with the one story.
We thought we were going to get killed in JCPenney.
Oh my gosh. I was forced to buy a spaghetti vegetable maker or something. Shredded.
Because we thought they were going to kill us if we didn't buy something.
If you didn't buy something.
They were following us at every corner. We were like, oh man.
Yeah, we walked to the dishwashers and all of this. They were like, oh, you want to buy a dishwasher? Oh, we're just looking around. We went to the men's clothing section. I see that you're buying clothes. So I was like, we're just taking a look around.
I was like, you got to buy something, bro. You gotta buy
What he whispered, we gotta buy something or we're gonna die. I was like, I'm going to buy something very soon out loud. And then they were like, backing away in the shadows. Oh,
Oh
man.
my god. But it's never happened to him.
Never, not to him. I always question the lives that these black people live that claim that they've never been racially targeted. Like statistically, mathematically, there has to be a black person that has never experienced racism in their life.
But it's also like Candace Owens was the victim of extreme racism at her high school to the point that she had to bring in, I think, the NAACP and like file a lawsuit.
Jeez.
And now she's just like, nope, doesn't exist.
I mean, the NAACP is one of the worst groups for black people. I do not remember when I was growing up having all of these race issues, okay? I really don't remember it.
What?
But if I was a young dude with my pants hanging down to my butt, I could understand why the store owner would be concerned. If I owned the store, I'd be tracking that kid too.
Really? Because of pants? Okay.
Yeah, let's be real.
This is dog whistling.
That's literally the only
This is
thing.
literally dog
Young
whistling. Bro.
pants hanging down. Yeah, it's a
that's
straight up dog
ridiculous.
whistle because
It's
nothing
not because
about
I'm
that.
black, but if I was young and had my pants hanging down, you know.
I work at a retail store, and I can tell you that there's a lot of white people that steal from our store. You can tell how like somebody's like demeanor is than somebody's whole outfit.
Or what if I had a store that had a history of being shoplifted by young black women and a young black woman with a bad attitude walked in?
With a bad attitude.
Whoa.
Would I be suspicious? Yeah, I would.
Oh, the
Okay,
eyes.
so it's a bad
The eyes.
attitude.
I love these eyes, bro.
It's an extra little detail with a bad attitude. Yeah, if a young black woman who didn't have a bad attitude, you shouldn't be wide-eyeing at her.
If you
I don't
saw
know,
this in
man.
person, where God's eyes,
His eyes just.
look,
Yeah,
just
you walk in
bulging
and he
out
just
of
goes,
his. Oh no.
But there's another way of looking at this. In many ways, in today's America, blacks have more privilege than whites.
Oh no. Get out of here.
It's been my experience that whites bent over backwards to give blacks every possible advantage.
Oh man.
I appreciate it's been my experience.
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
That's not been my experience.
If you deny this, you're denying reality, which is what the person who dreamed up this whole thing did. A professor of women's studies at Wellesley College by the name of Peggy McIntosh. She wrote in an article in 1988 about all the white privilege she thought she had. She listed 46, including this one. I can choose bandages and flesh color and have them more or less match my skin. Wow.
First of all, the idea that flesh is thought of to just be like this color exclusively, yes, is a symptom of a white-centered view of the world. But also, there are 46 points.
What were the other ones? What was
Yeah,
the
that's
name?
what I'm gonna look up. I can go shopping alone most of the time, pretty well assured I will not be followed or harassed. I can be sure that my children will be given curricular materials that will testify to the existence of their race. That's like...
They chose. They went out of their way to hate, bro.
Because what is interesting about these is actually how unremarkable they are. I can be sure that if I need legal or medical help, my race will not work against me. I can criticize our government without being seen as a cultural outsider.
Yeah.
It's the most basic, like, yeah, it's nothing stuff. That's the point. The privilege is not being held up on a pedestal. The privilege is getting these really basic things you don't have to think about.
They make it seem like when white privilege is said, we think like white people don't have to walk. They get carried around.
Yeah, they get carried around.
Like,
They get fanned with like leaves.
yeah, it's like that's literally not even like the privilege.
Today, these so-called progressives dominate our colleges and universities, imposing this absurd notion of white privilege on their students. That's too bad because it does nothing good for white students, and it does nothing good for black students. But of the two, ironically, the white students get the better of the deal.
Wait, what?
To acknowledge your white privilege is supposed to make you feel bad. Only it doesn't. It makes you feel good because by acknowledging your white privilege, you're declaring yourself to be enlightened.
He's saying that the thought is that acknowledging your white privilege is supposed to make you feel bad, which is, again, begging the question, no one is asking white people to feel bad.
White privilege, which is supposed to make you feel bad, ends up making you feel good.
No one said it's supposed to
man.
make you feel bad.
Meanwhile, the real damage is to blacks. What makes whites feel good makes blacks angry.
And there it is.
Wait, was it said? What makes the whites happy makes the blacks upset. What makes the whites happy makes the blacks upset.
What makes whites feel good makes blacks feel angry.
More than 50 years after the civil rights movement, the message is, you're still oppressed. How can this not create a victim mentality? And anyone of any color who sees himself as a victim gets angry. Now, I wouldn't deny for a second that there are privileges in life. They're all over the place. A black lawyer and his wife have a baby, and a meth addict, single white woman has a baby. Which kid has privilege? The white one? Because he's white?
In part.
Yeah, and in the ways that is explained.
There are ways that his life is going to be easier.
Come on now.
Come on. There
certain ways.
In certain ways. Yeah. Like, yeah, the meth addict and the single parent are points of lack of privilege. And also he's white. Oh, they think like babies.
It's like they don't understand the nuance. They're like, privilege, I have no I gotta work every day. Like, either they understand and they don't care, which I think a lot of them, like, they understand, but they, to make the point sound dumb, they broaden it to like that. Like, what privilege?
Definitely
what
surface
privilege
level.
I got?
They only look at the surface of it and don't go in depth. You know, like singling people out. It's just that's a present thing that just is happening. They're like, why? Why is it that? Why do you have to bring it up? Just put it under the rug and let's just let it be.
Let's not acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Which historically works for problems, to just not acknowledge them.
Even if it were true, all those claims about white privilege, so what?
What do you mean, so what?
Would it change a single thing I did? If white people apologize for being white, is that supposed to help me?
No one is asking for an apology.
White privilege is an attempt by the left to divide Americans by race.
What?
It's all theory and all nonsense.
These like talking points when they act like white privilege doesn't exist, it reminds me of like dudes that act like girls getting sexually assaulted don't exist. But at the same time, if their daughter is walking home alone at night, or if their daughter is around men, they're worried, because it's like inside, you posture like this, oh, it doesn't exist, they're overreacting, but like inside, if
you like say my son won't get racially profiled by say police or some situation, they're out at 3 a.m. in the morning just doing some driving, and the cop is never going to question that. It's going to happen, and it has happened.
I'm starting to like
Prager.
I'm like taking psychic damage from these videos.
Hey, I will watch all the Prager. I love.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to push the commentary onto you guys.
I love.
This is part of why this video has been in the works since February.
Slavery was part of life all over the world. It was America that began the conversation to end it.
Nope. No. That's just no. It breaks my brain every time I try and work on it. It hurts. Bro. It hurts so bad.
Cam is drained for real, bro.
I'm so drained. I
could watch this for 7 hours, bro. I could watch the entire filmography of PragerU.
Maybe I'll just put on Booker T. Washington and lie down for a little bit.
She's just like, it's just a video, and it just bans. It's just her.
Slavery.
Slavery